something that you really can't do is effectively have split screen. So I think that shows that there is some movement in the space, that people are realizing, hey, it's helpful to be able to see more than one document in the same place at the same time. So a project could be anything, right? It could be a campaign that you're running for marketing. It could be a case, right? A litigation between two major companies. Figma is a super extensive product, and you have to start somewhere. We will probably start with something much simpler and focus on the two things that I actually mentioned before: the linking of information, the access to multiple documents at once.
Cold email is working. I feel like cold email, especially with AI slop, has been incredibly difficult, but if you have a strong value prop, then it kind of makes sense. Andrea, welcome to No Fix Route.
Sorry, this car is crazy.
It is. It's like moving around.
Wow.
If you were sitting where I was sitting, you'd get a little dizzier because you're moving backwards and not used to traveling that way in a car.
Wow.
But yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm going to do a short intro about you. I think your business, Donna, is the first business I've heard in a while that gave me goosebumps when you told me about it. And I think I told you when we met a couple of weeks ago. It's like all of my friends come here, listen to what you guys are building. The way I describe it is, when we used to write on paper on first, and then somewhere down the line we invented the typewriter that would print out these like pages of text, but beautifully formatted. And there was a series of computer-based typewriters, which the latest iteration would be Google Docs and Microsoft Word. They're still like formatted in this one-page situation. You can't do much with them. Yes, you can like make the text bigger and edit, etc. But you can't do all the fancy things that your company lets people that live and die on document editors do. I got super excited about it because we write a lot of prompts. We have all these prompts that we're using Claude Code, OpenClaw, etc. for, and we personally struggled with managing all these written documents. So before we get into it, how I think we could use it, I'd love for you to tell me what are all the features that you guys are building, and just like maybe even describe what Donna is in a better way than I just did.
Yeah, so you actually did an excellent job. So thank you. That was a lovely introduction. Yeah, Donna was basically born. Sorry, this is my first time in a Zook. What is this called? Okay, this is exciting. So I'm having to experience this once. But yeah, so this is the idea behind. Sorry, do I look here?
Look at me.
I'm getting nervous.
You're talking to me.
I'm talking to you.
Forget the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, forget the cameras.
Okay. So question, what we're building, and what was the other part of it?
What are the features that make it different from
So yeah, as you said, single document interface is really standard. Evolved very naturally from the typewriter, which evolves naturally from paper, which evolved naturally from tablets. So we've always had documents in some capacity or another. What's interesting now is that we are in the digital age, and digital screens allow an infinite amount of possibilities with what you can work with. That medium, it's like water, right? It's completely fluid. You could do anything with it. And a piece of paper is very different from that. It's very solid. It's very flat. It's surface area for you to take a pen and scribble on, essentially. You could do something entirely different with digital technology. And that's really what we're getting at, is this process of knowledge work. If you spend all day on documents, if you live and breathe it, as you said, you're looking at a lot of documents all day and a lot of knowledge that you're essentially ingesting and you're piecing and crafting together from other documents. It's this process of sort of like leading and design. I think people often don't think of knowledge work, whether that's legal or journalism or something more creative. People tend not to really think of it as being a design-centric and architecture-centric process, but it absolutely is. So when you're taking all this knowledge and essentially trying to do something with it, something creative that has some sort of effect on somebody, whether that's influence on a judge or on another party, what have you, you have to cross-reference a lot of different sources and look at knowledge a lot of different ways, look at different knowledge. Think about like, how do you put this together in a way that it has the effect you need it to have on another individual? So that is all the pieces of that, all the supplies, all the moving parts. It's all Schwartz that are where they kept on documents. So the spread of that is tremendous. And paper is a really inefficient way to access that information because it's just spread out of this wide swath of surface area. And what we really wanted to do was consolidate that and bring it together into something akin to a 3D or dimensional iteration of paper, where you can store ideas the same way that you're mentally constructing them, as opposed to being forced to sort of flatten that structure out and disperse it across many different pages. Knowledge work at the end of the day is a combination of ideas. It's not just, 1, 2, 3, 4 going all the way to infinity.
Got it. We're hiring a copywriter right now. And when we interview them, realize this until talking to these folks, there's a very technical way of how they write, how you convince someone to purchase something. It felt a lot like design, like you said, but there is no Figma tool that, helps writers create the primitives that they need for text. I want us to list a few, specific features that we can do. And, one thing that I mentioned with you is like, find all and replace. It takes me like 4 or 5 clicks to do that on Google Docs.
Yeah.
I can't select all of the same instances, and if I have a certain text that I want to change across all my documents, that could be difficult as well. Formatting the bullet points on a fucking Google Doc.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, try a Word doc if you think Google's bad.
Yeah, like it kills brain cells, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What are some things that no one can do today with the tools that we have?
Yeah, so we're in our product specifically focused on Word documents, a docx file. Something that you really can't do is effectively have split screen across a ton of documents at once. Google Docs recently implemented tabs, thank God that needed to happen. So I think that shows that there is some movement in the space, that people are realizing, hey, it's helpful to be able to see more than one document in the same place at the same time. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, anyway, so that's a big thing that we're getting at, is you essentially now, instead of having individual documents, you have projects, right? So a project could be anything, right? It could be a campaign that you're running for marketing. It could be a case, right? A litigation between 2 major companies. It could be an investigation if you're doing journalism or whatever. So you input that project, and it's really not about the single document. It's about how all the documents work together cohesively. So our program lets you have the entire project there. And we're still currently working through different ways that we might go about this interface. A lot of it has to do with sort of what our entry-level wedge is and all of that. To give you a broader, more big picture idea of where we'd like to go, is to have this sort of multi-document ecosystem where you can actually source information across all of your files. And sometimes it's not even that you need to source an entire file. It's that you need to source maybe even a footnote on a different file, right? Like a small piece of something across any one of thousands of pages it could possibly be on. Those pages might be your notes. They might be reference materials that are PDFs. They might be drafts that you've written. They might be something that someone else has written. So it's one of our key features is being able to essentially create a threaded network of ideas that you can very quickly retrieve. Imagine being able to pull a string on a thought and have it right there. So that's a big thing that we're working with right now on our interface, is how do you make that instant, quick, smooth? So that way you can also keep in the flow. A lot of writing and a lot of thinking does require flow, and when it's being disrupted by like pagination and stupid bullet points and all of that, it's just killing not right now. It actually makes you want to pull your hair out, especially when you're on the cusp of an idea. Another thing that I'd really like to touch on is the cognitive load of having to hold all that at once when it is dispersed across so many places. So that cognitive load, it's offset by being able to store information externally, i.e. on paper. But your mind and your hands, there is a difference in how speed works, right? How we think is not as fast as how we type. It's how we talk is somewhere in the middle, right? So being able to type and access information quickly, like how long does it actually take to click in 1,000 places and find something? It takes 20 minutes sometimes. So we looked at some stats that said it can take up to 25 minutes to find the right document in professional settings. And that's just egregious. And it's destructive to everybody's mental health who works in that space on a daily basis. It's so frustrating. And yeah, so one of our key features is being able to, like I said, just pull that thread of an idea there, have it instantly. I don't care where it's at in your entire knowledge base, but you should have it right then and there, and being able to create a network across all of your information and an effective user experience for accessing it, regardless of what document it's on.
Holy shit. Okay. You said your whole project is in one place. By that, you mean like all the files that I'm accessing, all the sources kind of live in the same place, kind of like VS Code. All my files are on the left side. I can access everything that I need. Split screen, obvious tool, right? Like I don't even know how the hell you do split screen unless you have Arc or some browser that helps you do that. Traditionally, all Chrome users have to have either 2 screens or like 2 physical screens, or you need like 2 instances of Chrome to kind of run it. I love the idea of like pulling on threads. When you're coding, if there's a function right there, you want access to it, you just like command click and it'll take you exactly to where that the file is. Imagine if you could do that semantically, like you said, like I command click on a sentence or a paragraph and it takes me exactly to where it is. You could even, hit play and it compiles it into this like research style paper where all the footnotes are at the bottom, whatever. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
When I hear this idea, again, I'm going to Figma, where it took them a very long time to build. They had interesting backers that were okay with not having revenue for a very long time. And I was listening to an interview with the founder on the Jack Altman podcast, and his response to taking so long to revenue was, founders should never do that. So I kind of have a hard question for you. How do you sell a product like this? Who buys it?
Good question. And I think that in some ways also touches on what you asked earlier with features, right? So obviously, Figma is a super extensive product and you have to start somewhere. So right now, we really are trying to hone in on early wedges and what the appropriate path to scaling something like this is. So actually, part of why I mentioned split screen, I didn't go into all the other stuff, is because we do think that we're looking at split screen as a really initial wedge. It's just so frustrating when you have to look at 70 documents a day, which is a stat for what the average lawyer is touching, creating, drafting, what have you. They're interacting with 70 different documents a day. But over time, you can build out that ecosystem to have all kinds of things, right? Like project management, dashboards, you name it, everything that you need to be able to do the knowledge work that you're doing. But because that is such an extensive product, we will probably start with something much simpler and focus on the two things that I actually mentioned before, the linking of information, the access to multiple documents at once, and the ability to quickly view them and cross-reference them essentially instantly. And then from there, we build out all manner of things like collaboration as well. That's huge for anyone who's in Microsoft Word workflows knows that that's not exactly their strong suit. That's more of a Google Docs thing. So we're talking, we're thinking about how we can bring collaboration into different workflows and make it make sense, whether that's like a vertical application or a future application down the road. But we probably will start with a smaller vision to be able to get to revenue earlier and create as much value as we can, such that it's capital efficient, and go from there.
So who are your first customers? Who are you selling to?
We are looking at law firms right now, but honestly, we're really curious. We haven't had much an opportunity to explore other use cases, though in our interviews, so many came up, so many people across all manner of professions, people who are in real estate, people who are in tax, people who are in pharma. We're like, yeah, I'm looking at 1,000 patents all day long, and this is not effective. Even people in the army were like, yeah, our manuals are like, hundreds of pages long for how to fly a helicopter or whatever, or how to put together a helicopter, and they're dealing with a really similar thing. So we've seen use cases in so many different verticals, but right now we're kicking off with lawyers because I have experience working in a law firm, went to law school, and that's where my network is also particularly robust and also just at the forefront of my career, given that was the profession I just left.
Gotcha. Lawyer turned founder. I don't think you see a lot of those around. Even, the founders of Harvey and all these big law companies in the AI space right now, they weren't lawyers before.
I think the Harvey founder was.
He was?
I think so.
Editor, cut that out.
You're fine. One of them was.
One of them was.
I think they had they had one technical and one.
Okay, awesome. What kind of superpowers do you get when you've lived the experience of the product that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, honestly, I'm really looking forward to how much closer to our potential we will be able to be in our ability to communicate and write and craft language effectively. I do think it's actually a huge barrier to the craft of language to not be able to just have your memory sustain. Like I said, that cognitive load gets so overwhelming. The train of thought gets completely dropped when you get derailed by all these other things that slow it down, right? So when you really have everything at peak speed, how much better can we be at crafting thought and making it influence people? Because that's at the end of the day, the entire point of language. I mean, you hired a copywriter, right? You want to get customers at that. It has to influence them to buy, right? So you really want these people to be able to imagine and create and persuade and craft narratives that operate at peak performance. We've all seen a bad narrative. We've all seen a LinkedIn post where it's just like, I could have never read that, and honestly, I would have been better off, right? So there's so much writing out there that's so ineffective. And I think in an ideal world, it would allow us to be much more effective at the craft of all of that.
That makes sense. Your slogan should be something like get into your flow state.
Yeah, right at your highest potential. Because obviously AI helps a lot with that, right? You have chatbots that are really good at rephrasing things, but they're also really bad at it at the same time. So generative AI is separately doing a lot of work in that space, but we're more focused on RAG and retrieval and surfacing and sourcing information. I'm going to let the chatbots do their thing and they'll get better over time. We're focused on, okay, find me the exact thing I need when I need it, which honestly, those chatbots are not very good at. And then, yeah, from there, so you do any number of things in terms of refining it and maybe tweaking our own AI to be better at articulation on a more nuanced level. So much potential, but much further ahead from where we are now.
Makes sense. You guys were based in New York when we met. We were actually in New York. What are you guys doing next up?
We just finished Founders Inc. Yeah,
what's up?
Founders Inc. is it's a residency. It's at Fort Mason. Beautiful view of the ocean. Highly recommend. But yeah, it was an incredible time. We were there with a batch of, I think, 120 companies total. We had a demo day, we had a booth there, which was a lot of fun, getting to meet people. Seeing how many people said that they would make use of the product was awesome. People that, we're not necessarily lawyers or, our direct ICP in mind. They were just random people who were like, oh my God, I need this, thank you. And they were doing whatever they were doing with their lives, right? Organizing information, at the end of the day, it's very much an organizational tool, a productivity function that it's providing and allowing you to increase efficiency and also save money. I haven't really gone into it, but a lot of the other things that we are hoping to bring into it are features that are otherwise paid, adjacent subscriptions, plugins, all that stuff that are currently supplementing the document word processor experience that really can just become features as soon as we build them out in our product.
Got it. Was Founders Inc. useful to you guys?
Definitely. Yeah, we made, honestly, a lot of friends. That was the best part. We're new to the founding game. So that was the first time that we were ever really in a room consistently every day with that many other founders at our stage. Otherwise, we've just been working from home from each other's houses in New York. So nice to have that built-in community. You hear about the value of it, right? It's on their website. They put it there in coffee, but it doesn't actually mean anything until you're there. And then you realize, oh, okay, that's actually the value of that. And it does make a big difference to be able to now have founders that we can lean on and share that experience with.
That makes sense. Have you guys raised already?
We raised a little bit. We are not raising at the moment, but we essentially raised like an angel pre-seed 1 round. So yeah, now we're building at getting to our next step, and we'll see what happens after that.
Awesome. That makes sense. We have 3 minutes left on the clock. So we'll pause this segment here. We'll go out, call another Zooks, and then ride back, and we'll do another 20 minutes or so. And I have a few notes of what I want to talk to you afterwards, but this is great. I mean, for a first-time podcast, I think you freaking are killing it. How do you?
Oh, is that okay? Sorry, I didn't know if that was a question.
The editors are gonna kill everything after this.
Okay, you're all good. I've enjoyed it. It's been a ton of fun talking to you. I really appreciate that you resonate with the problem as well. I do talk to a lot of people who I think they write things and they never think about how effective that language actually is. They rely on other things to get through in life. They're not really relying on their communication skills. They might think they're relying on their communication skills, and when you read their stuff, you can tell that they are obviously not. So yeah, I don't know. And in any case, it's nice to talk to people who appreciate how frustrating it can be to get something right on document.
Oh, I have a whole pivot that I'm going to pitch to you. And it's not a pivot of the business. It's just a pivot of your first market. Yeah, I'll say that.
I'm excited to hear it
later. But yeah, I've been thinking about Donna for a while. And I think there's a moment in AI right now where I think the amount of code written by humans is going to go down to 0, but the amount of like prompts and like all of these word written MD files, documents that humans output is going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And there's no solution out there for people to use. And I'll tell you how we use Claude Code and the pain points, how we track all the prompts. They're all stored in GitHub, but our marketing people don't know how to use GitHub. It's a huge pain. So I'll pitch you a pivot, and then I'll pitch a way where you can even bring version control into this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been thinking about that.
Are you going towards GitHub for documents and GitHubs for lawyers?
That's just a piece of it. That's a small piece. I think focusing on the ID, the VS Code, is where I think this pitch is going to be. Your product's going to stay exactly the same. I just think there's a whole different market out there that you can go after.
Yeah. Interesting.
That makes now the perfect time to do it before someone else realizes it and takes over. And I think you'll have much faster growth, easier way to fundraise. I want to tell you about the workflow that came to my mind when you first pitched and how I would use Donna. One thing we realized pretty early on, like many other people, is that we could use AI in almost everything in our company. AI customer service is kind of obvious. AI marketing is kind of obvious, but everything is like segmented away. And there's not holistic product that can connect all of our subsystems out there. So we built one ourselves. An example I can give you is we're in the medical tourism space. We speak with a lot of patients, and patients ask a lot of questions, a lot of repetitive questions that our customer service has to deal with. So we thought, why not take all of the call transcripts, all the SMS texts that people send us, use AI to understand it, figure out what questions people are asking and tally them up. We'll pass those questions on to the marketing team so that marketing folks could create TikTok videos and work with influencers, etc., to answer those questions ahead of time before the questions are asked in customer support, right? And how do we track this over time? Are the questions asked, the count of them, going down when we're doing a campaign to answer that specific question? Are they going up? Is the script effective? how can we generate scripts for content creators that, address the pain points directly, and how can we track it on the back end when the customers, with what patients are saying. This whole flow currently is live. Every week we pull the transcripts, analyze them, pass it to marketing, create scripts for content creators, and send it to them. Cloud Code does this for us. And there's maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 different prompt files that we track where we instruct the AI how to work. The prompts live in GitHub. If my marketing person wants to update the prompt, or if she notices something that's wrong, she has to tell me, and I have to pull the code, make the changes, push it back. And I'm noticing that the amount of prompts that we have to track is just ballooning in size, and the amount of code that we have to maintain as humans is shrinking. VS Code was built for code. It was not built for tracking prompts. What if we built a tool that, actually the tool's already built. What if we use Donna and target it towards San Francisco companies that are seeing an explosion having to handle prompts,
Interesting.
and just go down that route?
Wow. Welcome to my life, software engineers. Sucks, doesn't it? That's all I can say. Lucky you guys, this company has started when it has. Yeah, I think that would be super cool. I mean, I definitely sympathize. I know exactly what that feels like to have to track that. And when it balloons in size, it's like, oh my God, here we go. This has become such a nightmare to maintain and manage. So yeah, I think that would be really interesting. I will admit that I do not do the coding on our startup. My lovely co-founder, Neka, does. She's our CTO. She's the software engineer. So she might be better to sell that than me, or maybe some combination thereof. It seems like it falls in the land that is somewhere between my world and hers.
Because you don't have to pitch it to engineers, right? Like the end users of this is anyone who's dealing with a lot of prompts. I think CEOs would be super interested because engineers use Cursor or Cloud Code for the code itself. And not a lot of people are using Cloud Code for text and then managing it on GitHub. I think because my co-founder and I are engineers, that's how we do it. I feel like people might use Google Docs to track all their prompts. I don't even know how the hell they're doing version control on their docs. So
Sure.
I wonder if you just went to all of your friends at Founders Inc. and asked them, hey, how are you managing all of your prompts? You want to use Donna for this? And see what they say.
That's a good idea. We had never been given the idea to think about it, to talk about prompt management with anyone. Because we had been, we talked to our friends at Founders Inc. and they all use Notion. And actually, interestingly, Notion is solving a similar problem as we are. It's just not doing it in the context of Word documents. And it's obviously a different solution, a different approach. But if they can make such use of Notion, they could definitely make such use of Donna. But I think that's actually almost a marketing question. I never would have thought to have approached them with that exact iteration of the problem happening in that context. I wouldn't have known that context existed.
Yeah.
But now that you say that, maybe I'll show them in the group chat, see what people think.
There's a lot of benefits.
Flag it, yeah.
The product is great. Me, selfishly, I want to use this.
You get it free for life.
Yes. You heard it here first.
You're a great supporter, so yeah.
So there's those two, but also for fundraising, right? I feel like everyone is, some of our investors, we were joking with Maurice the other day, they're in our investor Slack bombarding us what are you guys doing with OpenClaw? What are you guys doing with Cloud Code? We will give 25,000 cash to a demo of how you guys are using OpenClaw for your company. So it's not how are you selling a Cloud Code or an OpenClaw product to your users, but how are you using it to augment your company?
Oh, interesting.
There's a lot of demand, a lot of interest, at least from our investors, to see their companies use these tools to become better. And I think you have strong tailwinds. Everyone is pressuring people. We feel the pain point as founders.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone else does.
Yeah.
And OpenClaw came out a month ago. It's a very new topic, and I don't know if people have realized the whole prompt management problem yet.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And I think you guys would make a kill if you went after that, stayed in San Francisco, and just went after all these companies.
I am going to run that by Neka as someone who has never written a prompt into GitHub. Unfortunately, maybe I shouldn't admit that, but I have not yet gotten to learning how to code. It's on my to-do list, though, among 1,000 other things. Hopefully, when the company's a little bit more stable, I can move on to that. But yeah, no, I think that sounds great. I mean, yeah, it's a very, in my mind, just what you described. I'm like, yep, as I said, I've seen that before. So I guess it's from there, figuring out how to articulate that problem, which I think Neka could help me with. It sounds like it's a problem that somebody using GitHub and dealing with those products and services would be super familiar with. And she probably has the right vernacular to be able to discuss that. So maybe she could help me figure out how to build a narrative around that. And maybe we'll give it a go. I mean, we have a big group chat at Founders Inc. So
Start there. Do you get some revenue at the moment?
Not at the moment. We actually just recently decided to make the product free. We were initially thinking we might do revenue. Yeah, good question. So we didn't want it to hinder adoption. We also, as I said, haven't had the chance to explore alternative use cases. And we felt that if we wanted to really see what kind of natural stickiness might be out there. So, we posted on a Reddit post that went viral the other day. So we wanted to be able to sort of see who else could make use of this, and are there, other wedges or other opportunities that should be on our radar. And by making it paid, you sort of make that barrier to entry a little higher. And given we just launched this version of our product, we really wanted it to see what we could do with it.
I guess V1 doesn't have a lot of AI product. And yes, so your cost doesn't balloon when you're giving out free subscriptions, right?
Yes, yeah. There are limits on the AI.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of, I spoke to a few founders this week that have AI products that want to give it out for free. And I keep telling you can't do that. You're going to burn through all the fundraise that you have. And also, I think in AI, there's a huge churn issue where people pay for the product and don't leave. Imagine what's going to happen if you offer it for free and then start charging. It's not going to work out great. I think the time for freemium has kind of passed.
Yeah.
There's the Lovable go-to-market lead talks a lot about this. She actually has a podcast that are incredible that I highly recommend that you guys listen to. But okay, that makes sense. Is it just you and your co-founder right now?
Yes, pretty much. Although we just started working with a contractor, and we're figuring that out. Like I said, we just got this early money, so we're trying to make strategy for spending it.
Who does what at your company?
So I do the majority of the people-facing tasks. So whether that's like networking or fundraising and interacting with potential investors, outreach, anything sales related to potential customers. I do pretty much all of the people stuff, I would say. Anything that involves communicating with others. And Neka does the coding, and she's actually really talented at social media. So she cuts and edits our videos as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I highly recommend outsourcing that, by the way.
Yep, we were just talking about that today. Yeah.
I can recommend editors
That would be
for
great.
you. We
Yeah.
outsourced it on Upwork.
Okay.
For the first time we did it. And then we referred this Portuguese editor. He's like 19 years old in college, does all of our editing, incredibly effective and not that expensive. And I'm sure he has friends, or we can have him work for your videos as well. It's a huge unlock of time. Can you walk me through how you are doing your sales?
Yeah, good question. So, like I said, we're not charging anything right now. So they're not true sales. They're mostly just trying to get pipeline lined up for integration and adoption. So we're actually currently having discussions around GTN because we're actually on V2 of the product. So the old one we had pretty good traction on, but it wasn't truly DocX compatible. This one is, and we just got that out. We're still working through aspects of the product that are like potential barriers to adoption on the technical side, while also going into that pipeline and that go-to-market. So it's a lot of, honestly, cold emailing, which has gone really well. I think
And who are you cold emailing?
big law firms mostly.
What position and role those are?
Usually anyone who's in charge of technology groups or innovation. So a lot of times actual partners, other times like staff members that are high up with regards to, again, like an innovation lead or something like that.
And what's your pitch to that?
It changes a little bit every time. I'm always constantly like iterating and thinking about what works best. But typically I say an alternative to Microsoft Word. And I kind of describe a little bit about what we can do that Word can't. And that usually gets people's attention quite quickly. There are not that many people who love Microsoft Word. So it's not the hardest sell initially to get a response back. Rates have been pretty high on interest, at least with that initial.
Gotcha. Cold email is working. It's rare to hear founders say that. I feel like cold email, especially with AI slop, has been incredibly difficult, but if you have a strong value prop, then it kind of makes sense.
So I guess I should qualify that. I do not send AI slop emails. Oh my gosh.
Are you doing like one of ones?
So I typically do my research and send really targeted emails. So I go that route with cold emailing. I know who I'm emailing. I know a little bit about them. I usually can speculate, what a person's experience with the problem might be based on the kind of work they do and the kind of work they've done in the past. So I'm really deliberate about how I approach those cold emails, and that works well. Also meeting people in person, meet people all the time that could be potential users. So there's that as well.
Got it. These law firms that you're targeting, seems like they resonate with the problem. Are they automatic yeses when you pitch them? Like how does the pipeline clear out?
So we haven't actually had a product yet to give them. And we're arguably, We're still not quite there. Like I said, we have some kinks that we had to work through that are holding us up. So I'd say it's more having the conversations and kind of following up consistently as the product develops, as it gets closer and closer to something that they could actually implement in their systems. Like for instance, we just started the SOC compliance process. Obviously, security is huge, particularly when you're talking about firms. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, we actually, a law firm that we had spoken to last fall, out of nowhere, unprompted, totally re-engaged with us. They said, hey, would you guys want to apply to this? They have an in-house sort of design partner program where they work with legal tech companies at the forefront of innovation. So they reached out to us, inviting us to apply, which was super exciting. We thought they had forgotten about us, but they actually did not. So cool to hear that we made that kind of impression. Also because at the time we were really nervous. There were so many technical glitches in the demo. So it wasn't even just the demo, it was also our Wi-Fi. Everything went wrong and we thought, oh no, they're never going to talk to us again. But they followed us and they're like, hey, are you flying? So that was great. And yeah, everyone else that we've spoken to has been super excited about setting up like follow-up meetings as well. There honestly, a lot of lawyers I think are just really intrigued by the idea of what Microsoft could be. Several have said, oh, I never thought about that Microsoft word, like what it could have been as opposed to what it is. And when that idea resonates, I can get kind of excited and a little bit nerdy about how you could make that better, because obviously we all spend all day on that. So yeah, there is an element of enthusiasm that I think anyone who is a natural full day user of that program kind of has with the idea of being able to change it.
That makes a lot of sense. You've been in San Francisco for a little bit. Sounds like you're leaving. Are you leaving for good?
We don't know. I mean, we're still based in New York as of now. I'll probably be in San Francisco a lot. I see that coming. Probably, potentially, as much as part-time. I think it really depends. There's definitely seems to be a reason to be here, but our customers also in New York, also in London, there's a huge presence. So a lot of the lawyers that have been interested in this have been overseas as well. Legal tech is just big in London. They have a finance sector there, similar to New York. I think anything corporate, anything fintech, financy, law kind of gets merged into that. So that's just the workflows that you see there, the economy that is proliferate in those cities. Actually, even there's one in Hong Kong that we've been talking to as well. So a lot of our customers are not necessarily in San Francisco, though many are. They're sort of, they're all over. But obviously the startup ecosystem is here, and that's really helpful as well. So that's a bit of a trade-off. It's also in New York, but not as all around you as it is here. So we're honestly figuring that out, I think. For now, we're going back to New York, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah. My co-founder really wants to move to New York, and he always shares all these stats where for seed funding, the number of deals was higher in New York last year compared to San Francisco, but the dollar amount is much, much higher in San Francisco because all the hot AI deals. Yeah. There's two ways to interpret this, right? Like one, the companies in New York aren't that great and they're not raising at high valuations. So there's a lot of bad companies in New York. That's my interpretation of it because I freaking love San Francisco. But the other interpretation is it's equally as good of an ecosystem in New York compared to San Francisco. So I don't think you're missing out on much unless you go after the freaking AI problems management tool thing.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, cool. What did we not cover? Like what do you want to put out there that I haven't asked you to?
I don't typically like talking about this because it feels a little personal, but I'm also coming to understand that is exactly what people want to hear from founders. So I guess I could talk about my passion for documents.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, I really boxed myself in on that one. But yeah, I guess so. I've been writing my whole life. Ever since I was a little kid, I started writing books and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And it has been my center of gravity since I was 13 years old. Yeah, everything I've ever cared about exists on a document. So this is such an exciting thing to be building because, your work product is so much of your life, right? It's what you spend all of your day on for the most part. And for me, that's always been on a document. A document that could be doing so much more for me and is actually hindering my potential, as I said before, in so many ways. As they exist today, they could be so much better. So yeah, it just feels so surreal to play a role in technology in this way and shaping a craft that means everything to me. And I'm speaking about the craft of language more broadly in any context. The way that you put words together is just something that's really near and dear to my heart. So we use documents to do that, and particularly in long form as well. Most of the writing I've done has been longer form. And yeah, I am super excited to see how I can make documents better for myself and everybody else who has struggled with these problems.
Publish content?
No, I don't. I'm too scared to publish.
But you have like a library of stuff.
Of unpublished things. Yes, I do.
Why haven't you published?
Because I think to get something to a point of finality like that is a tremendous lift. And I would almost need to be doing that full time. Yeah, I will publish eventually. I am really dead set. I wrote a book when I was in law school. It's sort of a political satire, historical fiction. Sorry, not historical fiction, historical allegory. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I told myself I'm going to publish that. I actually am. I don't know when it's going to happen. It's still probably a few years away. But yeah, it takes a lot out of me as a person, probably a lot of people, to be honest, to get something to the point where you can look at this and say that this is ready for whatever it's meant to do. So whether that's, so a Supreme Court like brief or something like that, right? Or, you're publishing an article in the New York Times, like just imagine how long they spend editing those things. So it's a very extensive progress and it takes everything in you to get it to the point where you can sit here and say, that was all said just right. So I haven't gotten to that point of finality yet, but I feel more than halfway through. Let's put it that way.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to end. This is great.
Okay, I hope the sound worked. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was super fun.